Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to welcome everyone, mashallah, all the families who are participating from their houses and all the community members, all connected around Bromley and Keston and Canada, England. Mashallah, may Allah Ta'ala accept us all. We are about to start the lesson number 10. Alhamdulillah, we've now reached the 10th lesson in the series of Seeratul Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I hope all of you had the time to revise the previous lessons. And by the way, I hope everyone can hear me, alhamdulillah. Can everyone hear me, inshallah? Just send a message if you cannot to Anam. Alhamdulillah. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli wa sallim daiman abadan ala habibika khayri khalqihi. Muhammadin wa alihi wa ashabihi wa ahli baytihi wa itratihi wa baraka wa sallama tasliman kasiran kasira. It is advisable to all the listeners that when I recite this ayat of the Quran, this is in praise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we should all read one time Durood Sharif, Salawat on Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We can read any durood, like Durood Ibrahim, which we read in our namaz, in our salat, in the tahiyyat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin, kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin, kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. By reciting this Durood Sharif, number one, we are sending the salawat and durood on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he receives it. And secondly, Allah Ta'ala also send His mercy and rahmat and blessings upon the reciter also. So these are the two benefits, so inshallah. So just to recall, alhamdulillah, we have gone through the historical aspects of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life. And then he was born in Makkah. And then after the birth, he was taken by Bibi Halima, who was wet nursing. She breastfed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he grew up in the village environment for the first 4 years of his life, which was the pure, clean environment. And then we also covered that he had this incident while he was under the custody of Bibi Halima, the Shaqqus Sadr, that the angels came and they cut the chest and cleaned the heart. We covered that also. And because of that, Bibi Halima brought Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam back, and she came back in the custody of the mother and the grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. And then she took Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to show him the grave of the father, Abdullah. And on the way back, she suddenly passed away. And at that time, Al-Emaan was with them, and she had a very tough task to take care of a 6-year-old child who has suddenly lost his mother, right in a journey. Imagine. So that was a very tough situation and a great sacrifice of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he couldn't let go of the grave, but somehow or other, Al-Emaan managed to bring him back to the grandfather, Abdul Muttalib. And he spent another couple of years only, just when he became around 8-year-old, when suddenly the grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, also passed away. So this is the initial growth of a child. You can imagine, we all have children also, how Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has faced the sacrifice after sacrifice during his childhood. And he became an orphan just at the age of 6, where he lost both his father and mother. And the grandfather really loved him, and he knew that there was something special about Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then he came into the custody of the uncle. And as I mentioned, that the father of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Abdullah, and his uncle Abu Talib, these two were from one mother. So Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather, gave Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his custody, and he also loved him very much as a nephew. And then the time came, like in the last lesson we covered, that he went out with his uncle for his first journey, long journey towards Syria. This was a journey undertaken by Abu Talib for business purposes. And on the way, they met this rahib, this monk, or the person who was a Nasrani, follower of Isa alayhi salam, Jesus. And these people, they used to isolate themselves into place of worship, and they never came out. Only for necessary purposes they would come out. Otherwise, they would just devote their entire life for worship of Allah Ta'ala. And when they were passing this rahib, and the name of this rahib was Buhira or Buhira, or Bahira, different ways of, I think, depending on the language. So it was written in. So anyway, so this rahib, actually, when he saw Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he immediately recognized him, that he is the next prophet we have been waiting for. And of course, this is from the Injil, the Bible, the holy book, which Isa alayhi salam was given, and they were using that. And in that, Allah Ta'ala has given many signs of the last prophet, Muhammadur Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And one surah, in fact, in Surah Saf also, in the Quran, Allah Ta'ala is describing that, in Injil we have been mentioned. And in fact, even in Torah, before Musa alayhi salam's, the Old Testament, in the Torah, holy book, the signs were given of the arrival of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when Buhaira or Bahira, he saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he asked a number of questions. He was actually surprised to see him because he could see the signs of or the light and the nur on the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he asked that, first of all, in fact, he asked, who is this child? He asked Abu Talib, and Abu Talib said, he is my son. And when he said that, he said, there is no way he can be your son. So Abu Talib was surprised. He said, yes, actually, he is the son of my brother who has passed away. He said, yes, that's correct. And then he asked a number of questions and then requested Abu Talib that if he could see the back of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when he saw this, he fell in the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, he is the last prophet. And he pointed out to Abu Talib that you are a very honorable family where you have received the last prophet in your family. And my advice to you is that you should take him back to Makkah, because I have a feeling that if you take him to Syria, he may be harmed by people. So Abu Talib took his advice and sent Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam back, although he continued in his journey because he had already brought so many goods with him to sell. So he continued his journey and then he came back again. So now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is growing up back in Makkah, and the Makkah, the historical aspects which describes Makkah at the time before the prophethood of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a place which is very dangerous. Is a place where the theft is common, zina is common, all the evil actions are present. There is fight and bloodshed, and no respect for or value of the families, of women, of girls. In fact, some of the riwayat tells us that the girls were considered in those days a sign of curse, and they were buried alive in many cases. And all this is happening. And in this environment, the last prophet, who is pure and clean, he is growing up. You see. Now, last week I also gave advice for us as general, as human being, that especially during childhood, it is very important for us that who we live with, who is surrounding us, the company we keep, the friends we make. This plays a very important role in our life as to how we are going to behave, as to what our actions will be. There is a saying, in fact, there is a phrase that a person is actually recognized by his friends, those who are around him, of his character, of the way he behaves and the way he will talk and all these things. The friends, they change the person. It creates an environment. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is an orphan, is under the custody of his Abu Talib uncle, and is living in this terrible environment, where fights are very common, where, like, there is a mention when he became around the age of 16, 17, this is when he's young and youth. Rasulullah, there was a battle, a sudden war took place between the two tribes of Quraysh, you know, Bani Kinana and one other tribe. They started fighting each other, and the fight was for a very small thing, that one person came from somewhere, so one tribe, they gave him protection, that okay, you can stay with us and you can live with us. So the fact that he was given protection, the other tribe, they said, how dare you give him protection when we are around? And you cannot do that. So, because of that, they started fighting. And this fight sort of became so aggressive in the end that they started killing each other because of this. That how dare you give him protection when we are around? Our tribe is more honorable to give protection to people. So very small things people were fighting. And because of that, you can imagine the environment. In fact, we find that such environment probably we were reading in the history books, but now we are finding in the Western world, in some places, like this exists now, where it is very dangerous place. We cannot go in that area, like one brother was telling me that somewhere in the Texas area, one brother, he sent some a parcel to one of his relatives, and they were living in this area. So the postman refused to go in that area. He said, I cannot go because that is a very rough area. And killing, and for small things, even during the daytime, it is dangerous to even walk through those places. So there is a replica of that now existing. But this is how it was at that time. And Rasulullah, but Allah Ta'ala is protecting Rasulullah, because Allah Ta'ala took all his loved one away from him, and now he is totally under the protection of Allah Ta'ala. And so as he is growing from the age of 8, 10 years to the fact that he reaches the age of 25 now, during this very crucial period of the growth of a child, and crucial period of the life of a human being, in which the personality is created, Rasulullah Sallallahu grows through that period in this rough environment, but yet he comes out to be the most honest person, to be the most kind-hearted person, and to be the most wise and intelligent person. From the face you can tell that he's a very wise person, he's a very intelligent person, and he's helping out his uncle, and he's keeping away from the bad environment. Like it's mentioned in the history books that there was one of the marriages were taking place in the family, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never participated in these things because there was so much evil and so much wrong was being done that he couldn't tolerate. He just wanted to keep away from that. But one day he decided to go and see what happens. And the way Allah Ta'ala protected him, so he went and he took his place that he's going to just see how these ceremonies are taking place. And Allah Ta'ala gave him sleep. He went to sleep, and by the time when he woke up, he found the ceremony was all over. So through the qudrat of Allah Ta'ala also, Allah Ta'ala protected the personality of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And this person, he grows up in a very rough and tough environment, but he comes out as the most intelligent, the most wise, and the most kind-hearted, the most tolerant, the most patient. All the qualities and all the character of a great personality is inside Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is how he. And when people used to hear about him, they were, surprised. And one of the personality who was very much affected by the character, by the personality and intelligence of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a rich woman of the time who was a great businessman, and she was very rich, and she was very beautiful, and she also belonged to a very great family also. So all the three things which you look for in marrying a girl or a daughter, you have to look for whether the family is good, you have to look for the beauty, and you look for the you look for the the wealth or richness. So all the things were present. So Hazrat Khadija, this is Hazrat Khadija radiallahu ta'ala. She's this lady. She's a great personality. She's a great business woman of that time. And she was so rich that it's written in the books that apparently the amount of money she had, if you put all the wealth put together of the Quraysh tribe, then Quraysh tribe, then you could not equal the wealth of Hazrat Khadija radiallahu ta'ala. So when she started hearing about him, she was quite surprised. And she was a business woman. She would give to the money to the people that you can go and do business on my behalf, and then whatever profit you make, you will keep this much, and the rest you will give back to me. Sometimes she would give them goods, that go and sell these goods, and a part of the profit will be given to you. So this is how she was conducting her business. And so when she heard about Muhammadur Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as a young man and this intelligent person, so she sent one of her very faithful slave, or the one who was working with him, with her. His name was Seerah. So this slave Seerah, she sent and she said, go and see this person and find out about him, and maybe offer him that if he want, he can do business for us. So Seerah went and talked to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and gave the offer that my mistress or master Khadija, she's a woman and she's around 40-year-old. She's already married twice and didn't work out, so she's alone. And she made the offer that why don't you do business for her? So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, okay, no problem. I'm ready to do the business. And so as usual, she gave some goods to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but also attached her slave Seerah and said that we're sending him first time, so keep an eye on him and make sure that he's doing everything right, because obviously he doesn't have any experience of conducting business. First time he's going, and he was sent to Syria. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as a young man, he went with this Seerah. And as they are going on the way, Seerah, this slave, is totally stunned and shocked by the behavior, by the character of Rasulullah. He just cannot believe, that this person, everyone treats us like a slave, but this person is actually treating us like we are his brother. When he's eating, he's inviting us for eating. When he's doing anything, he's talking and behaving with us in such a way that there is no class difference. Whereas, the slaves in those days were treated very badly, and they were very considered as a low class. And he's so much affected by the personality of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then his wisdom also. So they went and they took all these products or goods. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sold them in there and acquired the money. And this is how they used to do. They acquired the money and they would come back. But Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made one suggestion to Seerah. He said, look, we now have money. It is unsafe for us to carry this amount of money back. So why don't we buy more goods from here with this money and then take them back to Makkah and make more money there on these. So we will double the profit. So this idea had never come to anyone before. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he sold whatever he brought from Makkah, and then from there, the money he acquired, he bought more goods which would be useful in Makkah to the people, and he brought them back, and he sold them there and made double profit. And when this came to Khadija, she was stunned. She was surprised. She said, this person, we thought he has no experience of business, and yet he has, in his first ever journey, first ever business contract, he has doubled the profit. He's made double money. So she was, and then the report which the slave gave to Khadija radiallahu anha, well, obviously she wasn't Muslim at that time. Eventually she became, when she got married, and as we will mention. So when the Seerah explained to her his qualities, his character, his kindness, his generosity, all these things, she was very impressed. And she said, really? I mean, such a person living among us? And she was so impressed that although she was 40, and although I think she was divorced twice before, and she had no intention of getting involved with any other marital life again, but she was so impressed by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So she said that, look, maybe, somehow I have to try and get his interest towards me. And now she said, how can I do that? And she had one very good friend, or in fact, she was an older lady who used to, in those days, like even now we have that aunties are there who try to create rishtas, the marriage partnerships. You go to them and you say, look, I have a daughter and I want to find someone good for her. So they would go and find out the matching partners. So there was one lady like that in that time. Her name was Nafisa. And Bibi Khadija, she went to this lady and she said, look, I'm interested in Muhammadur Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but I don't know how to initiate. So can you help me? So she said, okay, I will go. And so she went to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she talked to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she said, mashallah, you are such a great young man. You've done such good business also. Are you not thinking of getting married? Are you considering? So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, said to auntie, of course, as a young man, I want to get married, but who would marry me? I'm an orphan. I'm living under the custody of my uncle. I don't have my own income. I have nothing. So, I mean, which woman would be interested in getting married? Although I would like to. So she said, well, I know someone who might be interested. And so he said, really? Tell me, who is it? So he said, just between you and me, I don't want to, because, Bibi Khadija, I mean, she was such a rich and famous lady that lot of great tribe leaders, they were sending proposals for her, right? And she would refuse them. And yet here it's the other way around. So she said, just between you and me, there is a woman, Khadija, whom you have just done business for. She's interested. And so when he heard the name, Rasulullah said, oh, that's impossible. I mean, there is no match. I mean, I'm an orphan. I'm living under the custody of my uncle, and I have no income and nothing of my own. And I mean, you're comparing me with a lady, and such a great lady. That's not possible. So then she said, actually, she's the one who is proposing. So when Rasulullah Sallallahu heard this, so he became very happy, and he said, if that's the case, then I'm ready. I'm ready to go for it, because in fact, there is a hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu that when you are looking for a partner, then people look for many things, limaliha, wali jamaliha, wali nasabiha, wali diniha. Four things that Rasulullah mentioned in the hadith, that when people are trying to get married, they look for wealth. They'll look, well, first of all, they look for the nasab, the family background, that the person belongs to a good family. Because if he is from a good family, then hopefully he would, he would have a good character and good personality. And then the person, whether he's beautiful or not, he or she. And then thirdly, the wealth. People look for wealth, that the person should have wealth. I mean, nowadays, in fact, the wealth comes first. People, if they're looking for a girl or a woman, or vice versa, they are looking, oh, a rich family. So let's go for that one. Let's trap them. So but the nasab comes first. The character and the personality and the family of the person. And from all aspects, Bibi Khadija is, immaculate situation. Very good family, beautiful, and very rich. No one can be compared with her. So Rasulullah Sallallahu got everything now, all in one. So all these sacrifices he's given, Allah Ta'ala is now creating the situation for him. But the other thing was, which was totally against the marriage situation, was that the age. And this is also people, we have made up these things in our daily and present life, that the husband should always be older than the girl. It's not I mean, Islam, there is no such thing as that. If you find the right match, and if the situation is correct, and you feel there is a bond and love, then you should go for it. So, Khadija, Habibi Khadija, she is a 40-year-old, and here is Rasulullah Sallallahu only 25-year-old. There is a difference, huge difference, not from the other side, but from this side, that he is 15 years younger. And but Rasulullah made the proposal and answered. And so the marriage actually takes place. And that is, in fact, the only one great marriage of Rasulullah Sallallahu, from whom Rasulullah Sallallahu had all his children, most of them, all the children, in fact, except for one child which came later on, from another Ummahatul Mu'minin. So, but inshallah, we'll mention that some later on. But and I think this is the time where we have to end the lesson. It's getting interesting that now Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has reached the age of maturity, and he's now sort of about to get married. Marriage is always an interesting subject, and people get really excited that so, and I'm sure you are all very keen to know what happens next, right? But inshallah, so this is where we will leave you thinking, and until the next week lesson, inshallah, see how things unfold later on, inshallah. So I hope you've understood and you've enjoyed, and we look forward. Please try and tell others also in your family, in your friend circles, to tell them that this lesson is taking place. The more people, because of you, if other people are going to, inshallah, participate and they benefit from it, you will be rewarded also. So I hope, inshallah, we will continue next week, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Any questions, if anyone has, just quickly, couple of minutes. So you can just unmute yourself and ask the question quickly. Or you can send the question on the WhatsApp group we have. And inshallah, I can then try and cover those questions, give it the answers in the next lesson, inshallah. واخذ عنه اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.